Stellaris the Machine Age DLC is here, and with it comes a new endgame crisis, the Synthetic Queen. The first crisis to be added since, well, 1.0, and this is completely different to the crisis you're used to, as for once, it's not just kill them with big ship numbers. So that's why I'm giving you a complete guide so that you have all the information to deal with her, as well, of course, what big ship numbers you'll need eventually. Now, since this is a video about the crisis, some things may get spoiled, but I'll try to be vague with any lore so that you can discover that yourself. However, events and situations may get spoiled. Firstly, how does it spawn? Well, you can just set your crisis type to Synthetic Queen, and then she'll spawn sometime after the endgame year. It's completely random, nothing makes her spawn more likely if you're on all or want to speed it up, and the game checks every 5 years if it's going to spawn. Also, interestingly enough, if you play with all crisis types, you can now get the final crisis to 200 times, as if you play on 25 times, each crisis that will spawn will be 2 times bigger, so we can get to 200. I really don't want to do a video on that, please don't ask me to. I probably will. With that out of the way, how does she work? Well, we're going to have to break this down, as obviously it's not like the other crisis where they spawn and you kill them. I'm saying there's about 3 phases, so we'll break it down like that. The first phase is start. So you may see in a fallen empire some mysterious fog and a whole lot of fleets saying mysterious tempest. This means she's coming, and then she will get borders. Then you will get power surge, which all but confirms it, but don't worry, she's neutral for now. And she will always spawn in fallen empires if there is a fallen empire, but if there isn't a fallen empire, she can spawn anywhere anyway. She will start spreading like this. She interestingly doesn't use any ships to do this, so this land around where she spawns will always be taken. So if you're bordering it, you might get unlucky. And she grows more. So after a certain amount of time, I've actually never seen her grow this big before. It seems a bit random, but you will get a signal in the storm. Signal has originated from the center of the tempest. You will then communicate with her. She will become the Tana rather than a mysterious tempest. And then there's a bunch of laws. She will then give us a special project, the Mysterious Tempest, and declare war on any fallen empires that exist. Don't worry, she's not at war with you yet. She will then hunt down every single fallen empire relentlessly. She has open borders with everyone. She will kill them. As you can see here, she has just murdered them. I've never seen her lose, and fallen empires get a modifier that gives them 50% less damage to her, so I don't think there's any way that she can. She'll then bombard every single planet, or even crack it with a custom Colossus, which we'll get into later when we're trying to defeat her, but here's a sneak peek. Yes, she has a world cracker on a Titan Colossus thing, it's cool. She can use wormholes to get to the fallen empires, and really we're just watching their downfall. Once all fallen empires are destroyed, we'll get on to the next phase of this crisis. So once all the fallen empires have gone, we're entering phase 2. We have options, but really they do nothing. Now you can't actually see any of these, but I have debug tooltips on, so I can actually see what happens. We get an event, the Queen is returned. We'll get a small favor event soon, and systems get modifiers. She'll also now build a base near everyone's border to help guide us, and you can't stop her. This is going to happen no matter what, and if there are no spaces, she will just take a system from you. And this also does build trust. We do have opinion, which is a whole mechanic we will get into, but basically most choices you can either get negative opinion from clicking something or positive. You can't see if you do. As you can see, we can only see that there's a base, but if you stay nice, it usually gives you plus opinion. And then she'll give you some tech and some tech progress to it. These are usually quite late game ones and can be quite helpful. They are random and there's a whole list of them, but I don't know that list. This is out before the wiki's even updated, so I've had to do a lot of reverse engineering on how these things work. I might miss something. Let me know in the comments if I have. I'll try and update a pinned comment, but I am away for a week, potentially with no internet, so hopefully I don't miss much. I'm stopping this video until you click subscribe, okay? It's free. You help me out, you've got this far in the video, you may as well just click that subscribe button. If you have already, thank you, put the notifications on, don't forget the notifications. Now we can play the video. Okay, thank you. We then get the Queen is returned, and we will get a situation, the Synthetic Queen. This is a ticking situation, and is very important. This has a progress of 0 to 10. It does not tick by itself, meaning we have to do events and different projects to tick this up. You don't lose if you don't finish it, but spoilers, if you do finish it, you get 125% damage towards her when we do need to fight her. You also get 50% ship build speed and 15% sublight speed. I highly recommend doing all the tips I'm going to show you to try and finish this before it's too late, and we'll get onto that too. There are different approaches you can do. These don't actively change how this ticks along, but balanced observation gives you no benefits. Research boost gives you 25% research speed for the cost of 25% unity. It's not awful. And military boost gives you ship build time minus 25% and less unity again. You can switch between these freely. There's no cooldown, so if you're building up your ships, it's worth just putting this on to get it out quicker. If you want to research and you don't care about your unity anymore, research speed. Or if you don't want either, balanced. This is quite self-explanatory. Now, there are 2 phases. From what I've seen, the only difference to when you get to phase 2 is victories against convoys and outposts no longer trigger opinion penalties. You might want to wait to do that, even though we haven't got onto that. I'm not sure how true that is. This is something I'm not sure on. Either way, you want to try and get this up by 10. Now, before we get onto all the events and stuff, it's crucial to know what you're up against so we can actually see what these events and situations I'm going to show you actually do and what they matter against. So when that situation spawns, Satana gets a tick-in situation. This is out of 1,000. It goes up every month by base of 3, and this gets changed depending on your crisis difficulty slider. The higher it is, the quicker this is going to increase. This game is currently on 1x, so the crisis difficulty slider is at minus 50%. When it was at 2 times, I believe it was like 33 or 40%, so it goes up a lot as you go. There are 4 different phases she has. This first phase, nothing happens. Once you get to phase 2, you can actually see this progress bar when you talk to her, so you aren't completely in the dark about it, as at the minute the player has no way of seeing how far along she is. This happens at half of her situation, so 500. And when it hits phase 3, she will pull all outposts back to her and declare war on you. Phase 4, I didn't actually see anything happen, but then at the end, she wins. So don't let it get to the end. So you don't have unlimited time to basically kill this crisis and build up. You actually need to be quite active in trying to defeat her. Also, you might have seen the modifier amount of human players. If there are more human players, this will tick up slower. This doesn't really sound right, but basically human players will get events, which we will talk about soon, I promise. And these events can actually add a flat number to the progress. So for example, one event might give her 20 progress. If there's a lot of players getting all these events, this can tick up very quickly, so the base tick up decreases the amount of human players. Yes, that's right, the AI can't really do too much against the crisis, it's just how Solaris is, unfortunately. Okay, now we know the plan. We want to tick to 10 on here, and we want to kill Satana before she gets to 1,000. Also, remember that you can't declare war on her, so the only way of declaring war on her is finishing this situation, which is under your control, or her getting to phase 3. So this first situation you got was the Mysterious Tempest. This costs 10,000 physics research, and once finished, you get your situation progressed by 1, and you get a new special project, Satana the Nanite Tempest. So there we go, 1 out of 10 done, just for doing a project, which is really nice. Once she's formed as well, weak links will spawn no matter what. Essentially, we need to attack convoys to learn about her plan and progress the situation. The convoys will spawn in the capital, and they are a different empire technically to Satana, and when we raid them, we will get different bonuses. Some bonuses I've gotten is tech, nanites, and also progress to the ticking situation. Now, these convoys are the first thing that will spawn. From what I can tell, they've always the same strength from 1 times 2x, but this might be changed, but their builds remain the same. They always have 1 battleship, the Queen's Defender, and here's the loadout. They have an artillery combat computer, so they will try and stay away from you. In terms of their damage, they have Tachyon Lance, bad against shield. Gamma lasers, bad against shield. And then hangers, which shield penetrate and give armor damage. Then they have Ancient Pulse Armor, which gives them armor and shield hit points. Then they have shields, and then they have 3 nanite repair systems, giving them daily hull regen and daily armor regen. They also then have 1 shield hardener. They have low evasion, but they are quite fast for battleship. Then their destroyers, they have Tachyon Lance, again bad against shield. They have artillery, so they're going to try and run away, and they are fast, 308 speed. They then have flak artillery. These are the PD that are good against hangers and strikecraft. They also do shield penetration and shield damage, but bad against armor. Then all they have is armor and shield in the pulse armor, with no shield hardening. They also have 90% evasion. So first I'm going to run through some tips to fight them, then I'll show you some fleet designs that you can use and retrofit your armies into or start building to prepare to fight them. Before you build them, I would recommend looking at all the ship counters, as we get onto the further phases, it might be worth building the ones that are good against the last phase, as these convoys have a lot of good counters, but later on it's going to get harder. You can engage the convoys without actually doing the special project. This is great great because that means you can engage at the range you want. You don't have to go up to them. However, our first design is disruptor cruisers. Mass disruptors, small, stern, so we get an extra A slot with shield hardening. The best counter to their damage is shields. As we saw, they do a lot of shield damage. They do have shield penetration though, but because we can whack shield hardening on, it does make the shields a bit better. With the Picket combat computer, and another tip is that if there are multiple ships in the system when you fight one of them, they will all go aggressive. So here, that's right, this 600k would attack you if you were attacking the 52k. So make sure you pick them off when it's just them. Now, because they're so fast, I would recommend getting your cruisers right against them and then attacking them so that you can just rip into them. There was actually 2 fleets here, but as you could see, the disruptors can take out those destroyers as they have 100% accuracy and 35% tracking. Now we can see here we are getting kited. This is the biggest issue and why you need to separate them out, as we lost that battle. Now if you do lose, it doesn't really matter. You will get pop-ups from Zatanna and she might hate you more, but this is crucial to why you only want to fight one-on-one unless you have more. Another design I would recommend is battleships. Now this is going to be key for later on in the game, so if you can afford it, battleship preparation starting at this phase could be great. We've got an X slot, the focus arc emitter. It's basically doing what the disruptors did, but with mass, first strike, big damage as its shield and armor penetrates. Then we have just disruptors on, so we're penetrating. We have flak artillery to counter their hangers. We have hangers because it will take the attention of their flak away, and then more disruptors. Then gone shields and shield hardening and artillery combat computer. Obviously, if you have upgraded slots, you can. I'm just using the standard stuff, as you could get even more shield hardening with advanced shield hardener. As you can see, this one convoy will not stand a chance, and we've engaged it from far away. The first strike happens, you can see how much damage it did there, and we lose 1 battleship. And bear in mind, these tests are done with no buffs whatsoever. We don't have supremacy on. We also had energy shortages because I'm an idiot. Right at the end there, we do not have Defender of the Galaxy, which apparently does work against the convoys, even though they're not really the endgame crisis, but they are. We had no edicts on, we had no admirals, and with robots we can go necromancy, which would give us extra large slot weapon damage, which 100% take if you want to do as much damage as possible. These battleships get better as you reach the critical mass. You need to basically first strike as much as possible. These also scale with the hardest crisis strengths because you're basically just trying to shoot them before they shoot at you, and those cruisers brawling will get wiped by stronger opponents. With the leaders, I recommend finding people with extra range so that you can engage quicker, shoot them before they shoot you. And finally, a quick and dirty solution are some corvettes. We can go mass disruptors, again, just shield penetration, ignore everything they have to throw at you. As much shield as possible. I've accidentally put not hardeners on. If you ever see that, that's a mistake. It should be the shield hardener. But this is gonna do worse. But what you want to do, again, is get as close as possible, then engage. Maybe you want to do it a bit earlier because now we're going to turn around. As you can see now, they're running away. But this is like the worst case scenario, and we will just swarm that battleship, and it will take a lot of losses. The more corvette swarms you have, the better. And as you can see here, because we took so long to kill it, another convoy has come in and is going to completely wipe this. It does do the work, but you need more corvettes. I would not recommend these. They're not going to be good later on. That shows the power of the shield hardening, as they got completely annihilated with armor. Then we have the new situation, the Nanite Tempest, that spawned from doing the last project. This costs 50,000 tech, and once finished will give us some nanites and will advance the situation by 1 again. We'll also get a new event that will happen in 7 days, which is playtime is over. Again, you can displease her or not, and now we'll get the event more weak links. This means we can actually now raid all the outposts that spawned in your galaxy. So that means the more AIs, the more outposts that you can raid. I also killed a bunch of these to see what they would give me. We got a lot of random tech. Also, fun fact, it actually reduces Zatanna's situation by 20. So if you need to buy time, I would really heavily suggest going to kill the outpost. It pretty much reduced the situation on every single one I did, and giving me research. It also gave me alloys, pops, and it increased as some of the time. It was really hard to actually get it to increase as. Out of 21, it only increased my situation by 1 once, but it always reduced their situation. So what is on the outpost stations? We will always have a fleet that's guarding. It's usually the convoy one. So we also have to destroy a convoy fleet. It's exactly the same. But what's on the starbase? It's got tracking. It's got detection strength, so you can't stealth. It's got Veil of Scorn, which is reducing our daily hull, daily armor, ship weapon range, and tracking. That's a big deal. Then it has Ancient Ruination Glare. Again, less shield damage. So shields are very, very good against Tana. Particle Lance, less shields. Guardian Point Defense, which is the counter to missiles, is minus 75% shield damage, so missiles against this might get shot down. And then we have medium plasma cannons, again less shield damage, all shield damage. Then we again have large ancient pulse armor and large dark matter deflectors, so the shields on the starbases are quite high as well as armor. Then they have 3 pair nanite systems, daily hull regen, daily armor regen, and then an advanced shield hardener giving 25% shield hardening, which is very annoying. So with this battle, some tips that you can do is they won't engage you until you engage them. So you can set yourself up to smack out the fleet first, then take out the starbase. You don't want the fleet surviving while the starbase is just smacking you. You want to kill that fleet. We have 2 of those battleships. I am not really going to change the builds from now. This is exactly the same as previous, and these are pretty good against these targets. Remember, we have no buffs whatsoever, and we have 2 of these fleets. So as we can see, I'll slow it down, we do struggle to hit them as our tracking is so low, but hangars can't miss, luckily. So this fleet will die out. The battleship is dead, and we are splitting our damage, which is very annoying. And that fleet's dead. Now it just focuses on the starbase. We are taking hefty losses. You might think this is awful, and it's not great. It will go down. We lost 12 battleships, but remember, we do not have supremacy on. Why is supremacy good? It gives us more ship fire rate, and it does 20% damage versus starbases. Let me just show it off rather than just speaking. And remember, these battleships are all about critical mass. You probably want to roam around with a lot more than just 2 battleships, but if we had, say, standard leaders, they're not even that leveled. We have supremacy. We'll even grab subterfuge. This does give tracking and evasion. Then we need to go expansion just for another ascension perk. We will grab necromancy, which will give us more damage to large slots. Then these 2 don't matter. Then we'll go Venom of the Galaxy for 50% damage. So the damage towards these matters so much. We can also then get policies and edicts up. And I'm just going to whack all the aggressive edicts on, even though you don't really need explosive weapon damage, kinetic weapon damage. It doesn't matter. So now we go and fight. This will make a huge deal. So as you can see, that first strike has done a lot of damage. The battleship's already dead before it gets to us, and that fleet dies instantly. Now it can just focus on the starbase, and that's so annoying that it's surviving. It needed like 1 more hit from the beam, but it does die. We take 1 loss. Same fleets. This is the power of those buffs. So me showing you the fights without the buffs, imagine them with the buff. Now those cruisers do struggle against the starbase, but there's a small tip you can do to make this a lot easier. You want to place them right above the fleet so it dies first, like so. And it literally, I literally clicked play and it killed all the destroyers and the battleship dies. Then they can just focus on the starbase, which will take damage. We still lost 10. There were no buffs on. You can get by with these, but I would recommend battleships. Now, I did want to try my favorite type of ship in this game at the minute. Missile cruisers. If you don't know how these work, they're basically ranged missiles with artillery. They try and kite what they're fighting. Fortunately, you can't really kite the enemy because they're so quick, but they don't do too bad here. As you can see, that first strike did wipe out the battleship, even though there's a pop-up. They do quite well, and they kind of just sit there and shoot down the starbase. They lost 8 there. I wouldn't really recommend those, but they can do a job. Now, here's something very, very interesting. We're using our brain. We're not just building one type of fleet. Here we have those cruiser disruptors, which I've shown off before, but a new ship design enters the fray. Frigates. Frigates, if you don't know how they work, are a new-ish type of ship where they basically run torpedoes. They're very good against ships that are bigger than them, as the weapon deals additional multiplicative, I can't say that word. This weapon deals additional multiplicative, I can't say the word, damage based on 100% of the target ship size. So the bigger the ship, the more damage you do with Devastator torpedoes. Same for neutron launchers, but that does less shield damage and they're all shield. We've got shield penetration here and more armor damage. We're running the torpedo type for more explosive damage. We aren't being artillery, as we can just get in there. And then we have the Marauder missile, as it will just do shield penetration damage and help take out the armor. Then we've gone for 1 shield because that's what we can. But I have gone afterburners because these ships are slow and you want them to get in and stay in. But what you can do is place those cruisers above the fleet that's guarding it, as these are really good against the fleets. Then the frigates to attack the starbase. So the cruiser fleet will deal almost with the fleet, while our torpedoes have already killed the starbase, and now they're just going to chase the battleship down. And remember, the torpedoes are actually really good against the battleship, so if you can combine these two, you could just send a cruiser fleet and a frigate fleet around to take out the outposts, which could be very, very beneficial for you. Remember, no buffs were on for this, so that would have been even better, and we lost a lot of frigates, but they are relatively cheap to build. One of these frigates costs 254 alloys, whereas a cruiser costs 836. And we'll see later, frigates are going to be very helpful for a certain queen that we have to kill. So I know a lot of people like Titans. I haven't included them in any of the fleet designs, but I'll do a quick rundown of the best things for these. They're not that good. The Perturbation Beam does less shield damage, more armor and hull, which is awful with all of the designs I've shown you as we're trying to bypass. However, if you want to just wipe the shields, wipe the armor, wipe the hull, Titans could be decent. I've gone for kinetic artillery so they can do the shield damage, then the beam does something. Also, they're probably going to miss a lot of the destroyers, but this may be good against the outposts and any bigger ships like the battleship. You can cram a lot of shields in so you get more value for your hardening. And then we've obviously gone artillery. Then in terms of the aura effects, which is why you would build a Titan in the first place, the shield dampener will be good if you're trying to kill the shield, but all the designs I've showed you, we're not going to kill the shield. It's good for itself, I guess. But yeah, fire rate reduction, not the best if you're going first strike. You don't want them to fire at all. FTL does not matter against the Crisis. I don't think they escape. And if they do, they can't rebuild ships, so it doesn't matter. Fire rate buffs, okay, not bad. Tracking actually could be good combined with your battleships, so they definitely try and hit on that first strike. And daily regen, again, the same as ship fire rate. Essentially, you'd want the tracking for battleships, fire rate for the other ships, and maybe shield dampener, depending on your build. Remember that you can build multiple different Titan classes. So I can call this 1, then I can make another one called 2 with the tracking, and then I can put these both in one fleet or in 2 different fleets, and if they're in the same system, they do both of the buffs, so you can actually stack all of these if you really wanted to. I wouldn't really mess around with it, there's not really much point. The outposts pretty much buy time. Convoys can mainly get progress, but it's usually a lot of research and stuff too. It's very hard to progress this situation. You have to do a lot of things. And if you do kill every single outpost, you don't get a benefit, but I believe it makes her weaker because the outpost won't go back to help her because you've already picked them all off. So I recommend just going around killing them, getting open borders with your neighbors. It will help. You'll also get the Pleading Light event chain, which essentially shows a bunch of beacons on planets that you can send science ships to. So not everything is murder. When I did this, I got 3 points where it advanced our situation by 1. So that was a +3 to this. I got a bunch of research, a researcher, and also a dig site on Earth, which was my capital, and it advanced the situation, so that was 4 advanced. The dig site gives you unity, it's pretty nice. And you'll also get Satana's data bank. This needs a scientist present and takes 728 days. Once open, it gives you 2 options, but because I'm Fnatic Materialist, I actually get 3 options. Open it, lets Satana's progress be tracked before she hits the second phase, and we get +1 point to the situation. We can prepare it for delivery, which will give us plus opinion with her, and then attack the enigmatic decoder, resources, strategic resources, or rare resources. Hacker data cache gives us both of the options. Okay, so those are all the set things that I found that always happen in my runs, but there are random events that can happen, and they're really interesting actually. I've had 3 different run-throughs testing things. One where we're in high opinion, one where I kind of floated in the middle, one where I tried to go as negged as possible, and these actually did have different outcomes. So the first thing to notice is that you can actually talk to her once communications have been established. You can always see your opinion, and you can have some dialogue with her. Now you can talk to her and please her, this will gain you opinion. Then there are more that will displease her. There's 2 on here. I believe you can only say it once, as you can see there's no more displeases her, but new options will appear when things happen with random events or with the standard events. There will be new dialogue options. It seems much easier to decrease opinion with her, but there was some good stuff when we did a positive run through, which we'll walk through now. So in the positive run through, I started getting a lot of these pop-ups when we were at 70 opinion. There were always 3 options. One was a covert action, one was a more standard thing, not as good as the covert, and one was displease her. The covert actions were really interesting. You could get more opinion, then do a covert operation, lose a bunch of resources and buffs, but then it would advance her situation by 20. However, in a little bit after clicking that option, something would happen and you would get buffs to yourself like ship build speed and naval capacity, and you would advance your own situation. So going to positive, we can actually farm more of our own situation. However, it does speed her up, so you can see where you need to weigh up what you're doing, as murdering her convoys and stuff does decrease your opinion. These situations kept coming. If you're trying to speedrun the crisis and you're ready to fight her, doing this is really good. But remember, it advances her situation, so you've really got to be quick with killing the outposts, killing the convoys, getting your situation done so that you get the bonus damage for it, and then go straight to killing her. Now, in the neutral opinion, where I kind of floated around 50 opinion, I didn't see any events. And this was my first run through, so I was really confused. But essentially, being neutral doesn't benefit you here. So being in the negative, not good. As you can see here, we just get our systems absolutely destroyed with negative sublight speed and less tracking. After a while, it will go away, and apparently anger seems to diminish, but I didn't see this actually doing anything in game, but maybe I'm wrong. Another one I got was minus 75% research speed. These do go away after a time, but you just get loads of negatives. Even a node was killed, which was not great. All of this happened, we didn't get any bonuses to the situation, and we didn't slow her down at all. So my advice, try not to go near 20 opinion. This is where these events kept happening. Try and stay above. Don't just annoy her. Also, after the negative opinion events happen, it does force your opinion to go up. So it's really hard to go lower than this to test if anything else happens. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing something, but it just seems don't go low opinion. It's not worth it. Either be neutral or positive, unless you want some fun. So what you've been waiting for, phase 3 of the crisis, all-out war. This is very similar to the crisis, but she actually takes some time to get her outpost to her system, so you could rush her down before she gets reinforcements. Interestingly, she can't take land. She's being more passive because she knows she's going to win with the situation ticking up than just going around taking everyone's planets. She does declare war against everyone, although the AI is probably not going to be helpful, just like always. And your aim is to destroy her Titan. If it goes down, you win. Once Zatanna gets to the end of her situation, everyone basically just becomes a primitive and she wins. So do not let her situation get to the max. You can slow this down by doing stuff I've mentioned previously. Something interesting I've noticed from the screenshots I've been taking while I'm messing around, testing stuff, is that if there are no AIs, her capital system keeps a lot of the outposts. However, if there's lots of AIs, these outposts go to every empire in the system from phase 2. This means the meta is to have a lot of AIs in the galaxy as she spawns, or just before she spawns. If you add more, it won't do anything. So basically, devouring swarms and people who outright kill is bad. Vassal swarms is the meta for the late game against Zatanna. Here is one of her main systems. As you can see, her main fleets are just bigger versions of the convoys. So there's 3 battleships instead of 1, and a lot more destroyers, but they all have exactly the same stats and opponents. Her star bases also the same. However, she has now got defensive platforms. These are relatively weak in comparison to the starbase, so should hopefully die quickly, but they do have kinetic artillery. This is very annoying. They do 100% shield damage. Nothing has done more shield damage until now, except for the PD. Hopefully, they just die before they're a problem, as you will hopefully outrange them with the battleships. They still have gamma lasers, so less shield damage, and then Guardian Point Defense, which is good against this missiles, does less shield damage. Then she has large shields, armor, and nanite repair systems, so no hardening here. Your battleships, if they target them, should just wipe these defensive platforms out. They're not a problem to kill, but they could pose you a threat, and there's a lot of them centered around this middle bit, and then the main starbase has defense platforms. Luckily, I believe defensive platforms always die first, but if there's a fleet, the fleet will get targeted. So you need to be wise when you engage. Essentially, you just want bigger fleets and same composition of what I've been showing you. Now, here is the beast that you must kill to win the game. It's something else. They do have jump drives. I've not seen her use them, but she probably can. She does have a world cracker, then a lot of hangers, strikecraft, which will do that shield penetration. Then she has Ancient Ruination Glares, which deal 50% less shield damage. Then Gamma Lasers, less shield damage. Then she can counter missiles, and then she can counter Strikecraft. In terms of her defense, this is the main problem. A lot of armor and shield, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nanite repair systems. That is a lot of daily hull and armor regen. Then for some reason, she has living reactive armor, which instead of shield hardening, like everything else, is armor hardening. So we cannot bypass this 4.3 million armor because she has 4 of them. Then she has chance to hit, and then shield capacitors for more shield hit points. This is a pain, a big pain. How do we counter that? Well, I'm glad you ask. So when you do declare that war, like so, everything gets hostile to you. She also gets less armor hit points and less shield hit points, which is nice, I guess. And all of her fleets will start to try and come back, but we do have a window of where we can attack. And because we declare the war, we can just sit right outside her system and charge. Now, in this scenario that I've saved, for some reason, she ran at me in the system outside, which is very, very fortunate. I don't know how easy this is to manipulate, but if you can pick things off, pick them off, because the center fight with her main Titan is going to be painful. You will need a lot of battleships to just first strike everything down, and make sure you have all the buffs. Now here in this fight, I have all the buffs on, as a disclaimer. Our battleships took out one of their fleets easily. That's not the issue. The issue is this. Look how much damage we are doing. But there is one savior. Remember those frigates that do a lot more damage based on the size and do shield penetration and more armor damage because they have armor hardening? Yeah, that's what these are for. So these battleships do absolutely nothing against the main ship, but the frigates, when they do hit, it still takes a bit for those to tick down, but we are actually doing damage here. You can see the hull points slowly going down, and every time those frigates hit, you can see a big chunk go down. This is 3 fleets of the frigates. Yeah, it's mad. And I don't know what's up with the frigate AI, but they take forever to actually do any damage. I guess it's their reload time must be really high, but you will eventually kill them. You will take losses, as you can see here, but you should have enough critical mass to destroy them. You will need more than this for sure if you're fighting them on the capital. When you do kill them, you get a relic, and we all get the turn of the wheel. This relic is pretty cool. It costs 3,000 unity and 500 nanites to activate. Passively, you get planetary ascension cost reduction, and when you activate it, it creates 30 to 50 pops. That is just crazy for an endgame relic. I'd recommend bringing frigates for this. These frigates will also do well against the star bases that are in their system. And just make sure you have every buff possible that you can. Make sure you get picking situation done, get those 10 points. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. This crisis is not easy. If you think you know a better ship design than what I'm ultimately calling this should be the best for it, let me know in the comments. I will try to update the pinned comment with anything I miss. This is my brain's theory crafting. There might be some more optimizations, but this should help you come up with a plan by knowing everything that happens mechanically with this crisis. Good luck, and click on this video here that algorithm is recommending you to watch. Maybe it's Satana controlled and knows exactly what you want.